In this part of the course, you'll learn about injury emergencies. This includes external and internal bleeding. Bleeding can quickly become life-threatening if not controlled. Severe bleeding occurs when a large blood vessel is cut or torn. When this happens, a person can lose a lot of blood within minutes. Minor bleeding occurs from small cuts or scrapes. Most bleeding can be stopped with pressure. It's important to stay calm. Bleeding often looks worse than it is. Let's go to a scene where a store employee was cut by broken glass. Watch closely how another employee used her first aid training to stop the bleeding.
Ah! Lisa, I need your help.
Tom, are you all right?
I cut myself.
Sam, can you clean this up before someone else gets hurt? Let me see your arm. What happened?
I just grabbed the frame, tried to put it on the wall, and it just slipped from my hands.
All right, it's all right. Remember, I took that first aid course. Let's go over to this counter.
Okay.
I'm gonna get the first aid kit. Put this gauze on the cut and press down while I get my gloves on.
Okay. I would have never thought this would happen to me.
It's all right, things like this happen. All right, I'm gonna try to get the bleeding to stop, but I'm gonna have to press down hard, okay?
Okay.
Okay, it's bleeding through, so I'm gonna add some more gauze.
Can you take the old one off?
No, it might pull out some clots and make the bleeding worse. I'm gonna push down a little harder with this extra gauze, and I think we can get the bleeding to stop with a little more time and pressure.
Okay.
Okay, looks like the bleeding has stopped. Let's get a bandage on it. There you go.
Thanks.
Lisa is able to stop Tom's arm from bleeding with direct pressure and the use of dressings and bandaging. Let's talk about the difference between a dressing and a bandage so that you can understand how they work together. A dressing is a clean material used directly on a wound to stop bleeding. It can be a piece of gauze or any other clean piece of cloth. A bandage is material used to protect or cover an injured body part. A bandage may also be used to help keep pressure on a wound. If necessary, you can hold gauze dressings in place over a wound with a bandage. To stop external bleeding, take the following first aid actions. First, make sure the scene is safe for you and the injured person. Send someone to get the first aid kit. Put on personal protective equipment. If possible, have the person apply direct pressure. Apply dressings from the first aid kit and put direct pressure on the dressings over the bleeding area. Use the flat part of your fingers or the palm of your hand. If the bleeding doesn't stop, you'll need to add a second dressing and press harder. Do not remove a dressing once it's in place, because this could cause the wound to bleed more. Keep pressure on the wound until it stops bleeding. Once the bleeding is stopped, or if you can't keep pressure on the wound, wrap a bandage firmly over the dressings to hold them in place. For minor cuts, wash the area with soap and water and then apply a dressing to the wound. Now, we'll show you a demonstration of the steps for stopping external bleeding. You'll practice what you learn afterward, so pay close attention. First, make sure the scene is safe for you and the injured person. If appropriate, have someone phone 911 and get the first aid kit and AED. Put a dressing on the wound. Apply direct pressure on the dressing. Use the flat part of your fingers or the palm of your hand. If the injured person is able to do so, ask him to hold gauze to the wound and apply pressure while you put on protective gloves. Then, let him know you will take over. If the bleeding does not stop, apply more dressings on top of the first and press harder. Keep pressure on the wound until it stops bleeding. Do not remove any gauze once it's in place. After you have used direct pressure and dressings to stop the bleeding, apply the bandage over the dressings to keep pressure on the injury, protect it, and secure the dressings. The video will now pause for you to practice stopping bleeding and using dressings and bandages. Pair up with a partner and take turns being the injured person and rescuer. Your instructor will test your skills after you get a chance to practice.